I believe it's past 7:15, so we'll go to the pole installation hearing, and that's for West Boylston Street. And if you could just identify yourself.
My name is Rich Noleski, and I'm an engineering assistant working for Mass Electric.
Rich, I know you've been in here many times, and we all know the process, so if you could just tell us what seems fairly straightforward. You want to install a pole on West Boylston Street. There is... I'm sorry.
This pole is needed to help a situation that has arisen on a pole that's on the same side of the athletic field on West Boylston Street across from the middle school. In that area there's a banking on the side of the road on the athletic field side, and because of the soil conditions there, a pole that we happen to have a lot of equipment on has started leaning into the athletic field, toward the athletic field area. And what we plan to do, if possible, is put what's called a stub pole across the street and install a pole-to-pole guy wire and a down guy wire on this stub pole. And that's proven an effective method in the past of keeping the poles upright. Are there any questions?
So it actually be, you have a guide wire across.
Right, yeah.
Another place to hang banners.
Now, are you up by the school?
This is opposite the middle school, toward South Main Street.
Okay.
It's getting close to the area where the trees begin.
So you're going to be over the banking on that one too now?
That's correct.
Okay. And the guide wire will be
The guide wire,
off the sidewalk?
right, and the pole is staked behind the guardrail.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question.
There won't be any equipment on this?
There won't be any equipment on this pole aside from guy wires.
Approximately how high is the wire going to be if it's crossing?
We normally specify a 35-foot pole, so the wire will be at least, let's see, I'd say at least 27 to 30 feet high.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the
I got
board?
one more question
Yep.
for Richard here. It's not pertaining to this. We have a lot of ones in town that you have replaced.
Yes.
You still got the pole sitting there.
In some cases, we have to wait for telephone,
You know,
and
some of these are, they cut right down.
they have been topped off.
Yes.
We are, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have removed some of the double poles, and we are in the process of doing that.
All right. Next time I see you, I'll give you a list of them, because I'm all about town all the time, and then
Okay.
you can update me on them.
And I'll hand that right to the area supervisor, Peter
Okay.
Cox.
The next time you come in, I'll have a list for you and see what's, maybe by then you'll have some more of them down.
Okay.
Any other questions? Being that, again, it's a public hearing, I'll call to see if there's anyone who's in opposition of this request. Saying no, and close that. Anyone in favor? Move that closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make the motion to grant the request.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Wilson and Clamshell Street Development. I know I did see Tom Coy here a few seconds ago.
No, they're getting to be like on School Street, they had one cut off and it's sitting there, and they had another one on Main Street going up, and I mean, they look, it does get starting to look,
Yep.
I mean, there's a half a pole there, and I'll just make a list and see how many's got done. I haven't been looking at them last week, but it'd be nice to get rid of some of them.
Absolutely. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. You gotta just identify yourselves for the secretary.
Sure. I'm Thomas McCoy, I'm the local counsel for North Middlesex Construction Company. Dan Kidron, the president of North Middlesex. Crystal Perry, she's works with North Middlesex.
Okay.
We were here a month ago, or something like that, just more or less to bring you up to speed as to what we're doing. Purchasing a piece of property up on Wilson and Clamshell Road, and subdivide a portion of it into some A&R lots. I think at that time we showed you the plan, but I'm not sure if we did or we didn't. I forget, to tell you the truth, but we've got it to show it to you. Purpose here tonight.
I don't think you have it.
Okay, I've got it here, and I'd be glad to show it to you. The purpose tonight was to present you with an agreement that I have been working with Dennis Sargent with and Bill Spratt with for several weeks now concerning the I&I, the sewer remediation. They have identified a project, a remediation project down on Main Street, opposite 941 Main Street. We've done some estimating on it. We're prepared to move forward with it. And we ran into a little problem because DEP wanted recalculated figures at high water time in the spring. We got to get on with our project, and it's going along well. Plus, in talking to Bill Spratt, there's some reasonable likelihood that the town may come up with an alternative project. So we put together an agreement that the town will, that we will do this work, but if it's going to be the 941 Main Street project, obviously we can't do it until the spring, until the DEP accepts our figures. If it's going to be the substituted project, we're basically ready to go as soon as we can get the word from the town to go ahead and let's do it. We've worked out an agreement. I don't know if Dennis has passed it on. I get the feeling that you haven't seen any of it. So let me pass it on to you here. But Dennis has blessed it, and I thought he would be here tonight.
He was planning on it, and I think he may still
Make an appearance? Okay. I'm gonna bring it here. And what it is simply an agreement. It says that we will do this work. We will post a small $5,000 bond or account with you to secure our performance in the spring.
Just a question on that
Sure.
project at 941 Main Street, Tom.
Mhm.
What is the estimated cost of that particular undertaking that you would be?
I believe the estimated cost is less than $5,000, if I'm correct, and that's where the $5,000 figure came from. It was kind of a high guess estimate on Bill Spratt's part as to what it would cost to do this remediation project.
I just, I prefer to hold off on the vote tonight.
Oh, I don't think I would certainly
I agree with
recommend
Mark.
that.
I think we need to discuss with Superintendent Spratt as well as the town solicitor prior to signing the agreement. I think it sounds very good, but prior to okaying.
I don't know if Bill will be here because I had a conversation with Dennis late this afternoon and it was not in my impression that Bill would be here. We have met with Bill. He was involved in drafting the agreement. But I've gone back and forth quite a bit with Dennis subsequent to that meeting.
Yeah.
And
Well,
but
I hear what you're saying on that, Tom, but again, we've never seen the document before.
Right.
And quite honestly, I know that, a study was done, and it did identify all of the troubled areas in the town of Clinton. And certainly, and I know I speak for all the board, I think we would feel comfortable in sitting down with the superintendent of public works and really, getting up-to-date report as to where we are at this point after we've had many projects that have been accomplished over the course of time by different developers, and really look at it from the perspective of, are we in agreement that this is an area that needs to be done before something else? So, it was never my intent to go ahead this evening, but rather just to accept your document and then, to let you know. I mean, obviously, we've never even seen the plans of your proposed project in the first place, so I think we need to do more than just have your folks come in tonight. And I hope you weren't given the impression that this would be all done this evening.
Well, I was under the impression that Dennis was going to be here, that we'd have a full and frank discussion. It's important to us. We're pushing on this because without signature on this document or equivalent document, we can't go forward with our purchase. We can't get our bank financing to do the purchase, and we're stuck. We're doing everything we can to move this forward, and it's been going along fine. We have our Conservation Commission hearings for our orders of conditions scheduled for early November, and once those two things are done, we could close and get going with the project. But the document is critical to us.
Well, and again,
Just
Tom,
so you know, I
I'm sure,
understand.
yeah, I'm sure that the document has been properly drafted for the Board of Selectmen to look at. But again, I mean, being the fact that we represent all of the people in this community, this happens to be a particular project that involves yourself and the people that are here this evening. But I think for us to be able to feel as though we're comfortable, I just think we need to have some time to look at it and discuss it with the solicitor, the solicitor and Mr. Spratt, and to make an educated decision as to whether it's comfortable with the decision that we'll be making, and the correct decision for the people of the town. So,
Okay.
Dennis, we're just going over, I'll just give you a few seconds, but Tom has presented us with the document that was drafted. And I believe it's the consensus of the board that we felt we needed to sit and discuss the issue of whether this is the project that's appropriate to be committed to from this document and the money that goes with it.
Sure. If I may just briefly.
Certainly.
I apologize for being like I said on the meeting.
That's okay.
I apologize to the board. This agreement was drafted by my office after meeting with Mr. McCoy and meeting with the DPW Superintendent, Mr. Spratt. We had reviewed the request of the petitioner to be able to go forward with their project in conjunction with the needs of the DPW and the needs of the town. This was the project that was identified by the DPW, but what we had also agreed that we would do is that we would agree that if there was another more pressing project or a project that needed to be done different from this, that would be the project that would be done. We'd essentially leave that up to the DPW to determine, so we can put in whatever language the board would like, but certainly that was the discussion that we had with Mr. Spratt, that we would go ahead and work on whatever project he thought was appropriate.
And I just would point out to both to the members of the board that if you were to look at the paragraph that's number 1, the last sentence of it is a late addition to incorporate that understanding that, if you want a different sewer project and we can agree that that's an appropriate sewer project, then that's what will be done instead of the 941 project. We started out with 941 Main Street, but in a meeting with Bill Spratt, he indicated another location in town that, from his perspective, might take priority, and that's where we got to the substitute language.
And in addition, the dollar amounts that are listed in paragraph 6 came from Mr. Spratt after his review of what he projected the cost to be. Obviously, whatever that cost is that is approved by the board would obviously be the final cost that they would be liable for and responsible for.
I guess just as a follow-up discussion, again, I just don't feel comfortable signing an agreement until I have an opportunity to look at the projects that need to be done in the town and the price tag that goes with it. And rather than just, and I think it would be just arbitrarily saying, well, okay, $5,000 sounds appropriate for the 11 homes that you're building and what you would be putting into the system. I just prefer myself to have an opportunity, and I can't see how a week would make that much of a difference.
Sure, no, I can respect that. I'm certainly not pushing the board.
You know, even though we're not meeting next week, I'm sure the board has always been willing to meet on an off night to discuss issues, you know, that would be associated with projects and developments. And certainly, I don't think any of us would be opposed to it. But again, I think it's just, it puts us in a very difficult situation to look at a document, even though, again, I certainly have much confidence in both of the attorneys who have drawn up this agreement, but personally myself would prefer to have an opportunity to sit with.
Sure.
With you
I
guys.
certainly don't want the board to rush into something that you don't feel comfortable with, one. And two, certainly if you need a further explanation of anything that's in that document, I'd be more than welcome to obviously go through that with you. Obviously, anything that's in this document was done in conjunction with the DPW superintendent. Those dollar amounts were not attached to it by me, because obviously I don't have the expertise as to what those costs would be. But certainly I can respect the decision of the board, and certainly next week I would be available if the board's...
Well, again, as we started, when Tom came in, I mean, we haven't even seen, I mean, I know it's over on the Clamshell Road area, but we haven't even seen the plans as to what it's even going to look like. So, I don't know, I'll open for any comments that the other board members would have.
Yeah, I've seen the plans, I've seen all the plans to it. The only thing is, I was going to say is, almost in any sewer project they go to repair is on tapes. But even now, if we change this tape from 941 Main Street to another project, you're still going to have to go back and get how many gallons you've taken out from it. You're still got to go back to them again.
Right. The other project, you have a tape of.
Yes, we have tapes of all the streets that have problems.
Right. And, you know, I don't know where DPW is as far as, you know, estimating that project is concerned. All I know is that the possibility of substituting another project came up, and we were asked, could we put the substitute language in if that's where you wanted to go, you know, instead of tying it to one project. And that was fine with us, you know. No problem.
I mean, there's plenty of areas to work in, I know that much.
We know that.
We're not sure.
There's never any end to it.
The agreement, but in regards to the prioritization and the dollar amount, I'd like to have better appreciation for what we're deciding on, what we're looking at, and also, before I go over anything, I want to understand what the actual development is going to be. 11 homes and $5,000 to me doesn't add up, but if the DPW feels that's the appropriate sum, then I certainly will support
It's the amount of remediation that's involved based on gallons.
That's right. I totally understand. I just want to have that discussion first.
I will leave a copy of the plan.
That would be
with
terrific.
Okay.
That would be great. And obviously the administrator is, he did call, and he's caught in traffic in Boston, so that's for anyone out there why our administrator isn't here. It's very rare for him. I know that we knew that Dennis was going to be somewhat late, so it's just, you know, one of those things. But again, I hope that you can appreciate the fact that we're not saying we're against the development, but rather I think we need to educate ourselves so that when we finally do move on any type of an agreement, we all understand what we're doing and what commitment we're making to the townspeople, or for the townspeople, I should say.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want these back?
You want these back? Well, we...
Yes, I have a copy, yes.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Yes, to make the announcement for anyone out there that hasn't registered to vote, the town clerk's office is open until 8 o'clock this evening, and we would encourage anyone who has not registered to vote to come up and to be able to register and exercise their greatest right as an American citizen to the freedom of voting in every election that's out there, whether it be county, state, or presidential. So you have about, what'd you say, Dean, a half hour
Half
left?
an hour.
So closing at 8 o'clock. And I believe this is the last opportunity
This is the last opportunity.
before the presidential election, so thank you for reminding me, Dean. Okay. Water filtration update. Joel and Jay, would you like to come forward? And hopefully you've got all good news for us tonight, right?
Some good, some bad.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We just wanted to give you an update. We've reached kind of a milestone in this project, and we thought it was time to come in and let the board know where we stand at this point in the project, what lies ahead of us in the project, and make the board aware of some issues that you're going to have to take action on. The plans and specifications for the final design were submitted to DEP last Friday, October 13th. We've been working with Randy Swigger at DEP pretty closely all the way along, so we don't anticipate there being any surprises in his review process. And he's actually told us we should receive final approval within the next couple of weeks. So we have submitted final plans and specifications. We've also submitted the loan application to the DEP for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund loan. It was submitted in the amount of $10.2 million. It means the town would be eligible for a zero-interest loan, provided they approve the application that we've submitted. Basically, the application needs to describe the project, provide cost estimates, and demonstrate ownership of the property and easements that we have to make the project possible. They don't want to fund a project if there's some catch that's not going to be allowed, that would prevent its being built. We've delivered a copy of the application to Mike Ward, and it's a little unclear to us at this point how quickly the DEP will respond to us. The people we submitted it to are in Boston. It's a group called the Division of Municipal Services, and they're in charge of the loan process. So we've been working with them over the last couple of weeks to pull the loan application together, and they received a lot of other loan applications at the same time ours went in. It was the deadline for the loan applications, so they've received probably 20 or 30 of these things. But we will find out what the time frame is for them to get back to us.
But just to interrupt you, Jay, on that.
Sure.
We did have a commitment that we were going to get it.
Yes, absolutely. The application just needs to demonstrate that the project is to the point that they're comfortable to fund it. And it's the deadline that's been driving our whole design process. The design needed to be submitted before we could submit the loan application. So, there are a couple things, like we've got a temporary construction easement agreement from the MDC for a water main route. We were not able to get the agreement from the MDC to put in the loan application. We're working on that, and I suspect the MDC will get it to us sometime shortly. But there's likely to be a back and forth between us and this Division of Municipal Services as we provide them the information they need. So yeah, they've committed to giving the loan, provided we give them all the information that they've requested.
Yeah, they don't have a limited pool of money that they're then going to allocate to the first 18 communities.
No, they listed the projects in accordance with the total amount of funding that they had available, and they ranked them, and we made the cut on that list, so the money's available.
Okay.
Yeah, the other review items are the town's financial information. That's something that the state, you may be eligible, but if your financial records are not in order, then you won't get the funding. So all of that had to be submitted to the state as well.
In the process of preparing the application, we tried to determine whether or not the land acquisition costs would be eligible for funding under the state revolving fund. We received a letter from Division of Municipal Services saying that the land acquisition costs are not eligible. That wasn't really a surprise, but we thought we would try to get them into the loan application anyway. The construction oversight costs are eligible. So we structured the loan application to include construction oversight costs. The project schedule, that's dictated by both, really it's dictated by the administrative consent order that the town signed, is as follows. We structured the plans and specifications to advertise on November 1st. So we're going to move right into the next phase of this fairly quickly. The project would appear in the Central Register on November 1st and November 8th. We would be requesting filed sub-bids for all the required sub-bid trades on December 7th. And the general bids will be due on December 14th. This is all provided that the Division of Municipal Services doesn't request we change this schedule. So we would be receiving bids by the 14th. There are 2 alternates included in the plans and specifications. We're putting out to bid both the conventional treatment and the direct pressure filtration technology. So as we open these bids, we'll be basically have 2 sets of numbers that we can compare. And the way we structured the plans and specifications, the alternate that's selected is based on a vote of this board. So the lowest qualified bidder for the alternate that the board selects would be our recommendation for award. Our recommendation for award will be provided to you just right around the 1st of the year, and we would need to award the contract by January 14th. The time for completion for the construction phase is 1 year. And it starts the date that the contract's awarded. It's a fairly aggressive schedule.
Jay, can I just interrupt you? Can I get a copy of the schedule that your company's going by? So
Definitely.
we know where you guys are.
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, the 1-year construction time frame is about as short a time frame as we feel is possible for a project like this. It is, and it likely will have an effect on the bids that come in, the pricing that comes in. It certainly puts a lot of pressure on the contractors, and their prices usually reflect that. However, it allows the town to meet the January 15th, 2002 deadline that's in the consent order. And that's the deadline that the DEP has been fairly inflexible on. They're getting pressure from EPA to keep that deadline on January 15th of 2002. So we've submitted everything to meet that deadline. The construction should start around March 1st of this year. The time frame between January 14th and March 1st would be shop drawing review and the pre-construction conferences and pre-construction phase of the project. And between March and January of 2002 would be actual construction. Now, the town's committed to be filtering water by January 15th of 2002. It doesn't mean that we need to hold a contractor to every item in the project. Provided the town is filtering water, you will have met the requirements of the consent order. The SRF loan, the funding or the appropriations by the state occur annually in September of each year. And the SRF loan applications are due in October. So the state is not going to borrow the money that we've applied for until September of next year. So there's a temporary borrowing phase between now and then There is money available from the state. It's at a 2 to 3% interest rate for this temporary period. And then as of September of next year, we would go to the 0 interest rate at that point. The water user rates. In order to fund the treatment facility, we've basically got to restructure the water user rates in accordance with the numbers we provided to you earlier. Our preliminary estimate was an increase from 73 cents per 100 cubic feet to $1.65 per 100 cubic feet. Before we go to an actual rate adjustment, an analysis of water usage will need to be developed so that we can get a tighter grip on exactly what the rate increase needs to be. So we should, I guess, gear up for a rate increase study. Once we develop a new rate schedule, we should implement it as quickly as possible. And in accordance with the rate increases, we should consider a meter replacement and calibration program. Right now, we're estimating, these are fairly rough numbers, but we're estimating that about 17% of the water that's pumped is not metered, is either pumped to waste through leakage or is pumped through unmetered uses. And this doesn't include the town building usage, which is all unmetered. And again, these are very preliminary estimates, but it gives you a sense that quite a bit of the water that is being pumped now is not being billed for. As part of the project, there are wastewater discharges from backwash waste from the filter plant that will be discharged to the sewer system. And the water treatment plant requires a sewer connection for the disposal of this water. Currently, the town's sewer bank is around 80,000 gallons. And some of this, or a lot of this actually, will probably be used up with the elementary school project. So the water treatment plant requires about 36,000 gallons from the bank. And in order to meet the requirements of both these projects without depleting the entire sewer bank, the town should consider additional inflow and infiltration work to increase the bank. I don't know if there are any projects that are coming up that might be an option on, but it's certainly something to keep in mind. Some of the things that we are committing the town to will require action at a town meeting. At the spring town meeting, the local appropriation was $10.2 million. Under the intended use plan numbers from the state revolving fund, you're actually eligible to borrow at 0 interest $10.279. We omitted the $79,000 basically accidentally. Our recommendation is that you increase the appropriation to include that additional $79,000, and it increases your ability to meet bids if they come in slightly above our construction estimates. Right now, the construction market is, bids are coming in on the high side, I would say. Times are very busy and contractors are putting slightly higher numbers on projects than we were expecting to see. Let's see, the board voted for a warrant article to place a conservation restriction on the rifle range. This was a request of the Secretary of Environmental Affairs as part of the NEPA process. And it should be done at the next town meeting to meet the MEPA requirement. They're likely to review that as this project goes on, and it would be in everybody's best interest if that at least were underway. We need to resolve issues of acquiring the property at 55 West Boylston Street. The town solicitor has helped us, or has prepared a purchase and sales agreement. And one of the conditions of that agreement is that the property be transferred by eminent domain. The property owner actually requested that. So that will require action at a town meeting. And the easement that we're requesting from the MDC, we're going to get a temporary construction easement but that's under the premise that we follow that up with a permanent easement fairly quickly thereafter. It will require action of the state legislature, and I suspect that the representatives will want a home rule petition similar to what they requested in the last state legislature action. And lastly, we need to get an updated site survey, and this is something we should do fairly quickly. The sewer work that was done on the site where the treatment plant is going resulted in significant changes in topography down there. And in order to get accurate numbers from contractors, what we want to do is have an updated topographic survey that we can include in the bid documents as an addendum. Once we advertise it and put it out, we can provide this plan to the contractors, and they can bid on an accurate topographic survey. The estimated cost for the survey are between $2,500 and $3,000, and my recommendation is that we proceed with that fairly quickly. We've got a surveyor that we've been working with who has control in that area, and that's where those prices came from. We could get pricing from other surveyors as well. My suspicion is because they've got control in there, their numbers are fairly competitive. But that's something we should be moving on quite quickly.
Can that cost be rolled into the cost of the project?
It's not included in it right now.
It isn't, no.
But from a financing standpoint, can we build it? I mean, there's a contingency percentage that's built into the project.
Yep.
Can we roll that to it? I mean, that's a small amount for 10 million if we could do. The easiest, I think, for us.
The only issue is getting the surveyor paid in a timely manner. If we don't get funding for several months.
Understood.
But it may be reimbursable.
Right.
That's what, 0%. That's
Yeah, it was not included in our loan application. We would basically have to make the argument that it was an unforeseen condition, which might be possible. I'll look into that.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is one of the filtration methods versus the other quicker to assemble, quicker to build?
Yes, I believe the direct pressure filtration will be quicker for them to build, provided the vendor can get the equipment built in their shop and shipped out in a timely manner. From the contractor's standpoint, he should be delivered basically working treatment equipment all pre-assembled and then tested at their shop and disassembled and shipped. So it arrives in pretty good order to get online in a fairly timely fashion.
So that might be the better way to go.
It might be, and it would probably be reflected in the bids we get. If the contractors are aware that their schedule will be made a little more workable with one technology over the other, I suspect that will be reflected in the bids.
Okay, good.
Okay, well, that was a mixed bag, I'll tell you that.
Well, it's a long road ahead of us here.
Well, what I would...
I thought we were gaining on this.
Yeah, what I
Yeah,
what I
we-
certainly would suggest, and I think, we have talked somewhat about the rates and setting up and designing it so that, the users are the ones that are going to actually see the impact of the water consumption here. And obviously, that's something that we do have to, look to start getting serious about. Again, it's in a very aggressive time schedule that we're on. I have to say, I have to congratulate your company and you guys that have been involved in this project. You have done an absolutely incredible job up to this point, and certainly expect to see the same right through completion. And we certainly congratulate you for it. You've just done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And have helped us meet all of the deadlines that we've had to during this entire process. And it certainly has not been an easy process, so thanks. So we certainly do publicly, on behalf of the board, congratulate you and thank you very much for a job well done. What I would suggest is, I know we're not officially meeting next week, But I think it's perhaps the time that we meet off camera in a format where we could bring in the Department of Public Works Superintendent, perhaps the foreman of the Water Department, town solicitor, and the board, and try to get into a working session and see, really start making some very firm commitments here and start making some decisions as to where we go and what kind of articles we have to get prepared for special town meeting and really follow through on this. And I really don't think this is the format that we can really do it, because it's, it takes a lot of looking at documents and trying to put things together, and I don't really think we have all the necessary parties here to really start making these educated decisions. So if the board is willing to do it, I would suggest, and you're available, and town solicitor, perhaps meeting some night next week.
That sounds
At
good.
everyone's convenience.
Okay, that sounds
Great job in a very short time. It's outstanding to get those.
Well, thank you. We
those deadlines.
appreciate
It's not
that.
easy, and uncovering and having some things get by is part of the process, and it's not an easy process. So I can appreciate the hard work and effort, and we'll all work closely to get this thing done. So good job.
Now,
Well,
is this...
we appreciate the opportunity to look at it.
Oh, thank you. Is your schedule fairly flexible, some evening next week? Or?
Yes.
I think perhaps the beginning of the week is probably better. And obviously we'll have to coordinate with you, Dennis, to see, and Bill Spratt. But if you could follow up with Michael tomorrow, and then Michael can get to the board, and we can come up with whether Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometime next week. But I think because it is such an aggressive schedule, and there are so many things that we have to make sure that we've dotted every I and crossed every T, that I think we really need to get into a working session where we can go step by step. As that was a very extensive list this evening, but obviously a list that we can't just rely on these items that you brought up this evening. We really do have to make decisions and look and find the direction of where we're going in all of these items that you brought up tonight. So if it's fine with you, that's what I would recommend, that we meet.
That sounds
Monday,
good.
Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week. And is it, Mark Ecolucci, is that okay with you?
That's fine with me.
Mark Ecolucci? That's fine. Okay. Dennis, so if you could, Joel or Jay, either get in touch with Mike first thing tomorrow, we'll have him get in touch with you guys, but we certainly look forward to sitting down and really rolling up our sleeves and making, at least attempting to start making some hard decisions, and then come back out into selectmen's meeting and inform the people of where some of the decisions that we've made and the directions we're going at, and some of the items you brought up tonight.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes all of the official items this evening. Committee reports, the only thing I have in committee reports was, again, the 150th ball is Saturday evening, and it's my understanding they're very close to a sellout crowd, and Tina Sapantis and Donna Merriman again have put just a tremendous amount of time and energy into making this a success for the town. So we look forward to that evening. I know all of the board members will be there, and that's very nice. And the committee is very excited with that. So we'll give you all an update on our next meeting about how wonderful the ball is. So.
We'll probably have enough pictures on Channel 8.
Anyone else have any other committee reports?
I have a couple, Madam Chair. The Building Surplus Committee will meet Tuesday, October 24th at 6:30 here in the, I guess, the side chamber over here. We're going to be meeting to discuss some of the recent developments and some of the abandoned buildings in town. And the Open Space Subcommittee met today also, and we're still waiting to submit some maps to the state and an ADA letter. And that's it.
Just
Want to update us on the school project?
Yeah, I can a little bit. It was listed under here, but I can certainly
Yeah.
comment on some good news with the building committee. We had some, what I'd call model bids go out, test bids for the new elementary school project, and those bids came back in line. So we feel that from a budgetary standpoint, we should be in, hopefully, fingers crossed, in good shape.
Terrific, that's excellent.
One issue that we've been working on and have involved the DPW with on the school project is the Church Street ramp and the culvert. We'll continue to do that. That structurally is not, is something we're going to need to work on that project, and I believe in the old and new business there's an update for the committee, the board, to understand where that's at, and there's certainly a willingness from the, I believe, the school committee to come forward and discuss it with us, the DPW, for an understanding there. So things are moving along. It's busy and not a year calendar, but it's fast paced there as well.
So, great. Jerry?
No.
Dean? Okay. I would just say, last evening, on behalf of the board, I represented the board at the dedication of the new athletic field. And I'll have to, and I know that most of the selectmen were there last evening. It was a tremendous crowd, and Superintendent of Schools, Ed Philbin, put together just an absolutely incredible program, and to dedicate that in honor of the veterans. It was just a terrific evening, and there was a number of veterans there last evening. You know, not even just the organizations, because there was a great representation from the PAV and VFW and the American Legion, but also in the audience there were many veterans there, and it was really wonderful to see, and a lot of young people, and it was just a terrific evening, and congratulations to everyone involved in making that such a wonderful complex and a wonderful success for the town. It was really a nice night.
It was nice to see the high school students, the respect. There was several hundred students in the stands, and the respect they gave to all the town speakers and to our veterans. It was refreshing to see that in our youth.
Yeah,
So it was
really
good.
nice. It was a really terrific night. So our sincere congratulations to everyone involved, and that was a nice night.
Good turnout by all ages, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Proud.
Okay. All right, public comment. No public comment. I would, just for informational, we did have a letter from the town moderator that he has made a new appointment to the Finance Committee, replacing Doug Crosman, who has passed away, who really donated a lot of time and energy to the town. John Hogan has appointed John Kittredge of 249 Chase Street to replace Mr. Crosman, and we congratulate Mr. Kittredge and look forward to working with him on the board, and wish him much success. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Just a quick comment, Madam Chair. When we had discussion at our previous meeting regarding water tanks, very impressed with the detail and the speed of Superintendent Spratt's. Just an extremely thorough job he's doing for us, and within one meeting he turned around and gave us a packet full of information. So it's I want to congratulate him on doing a great job.
He did a super job,
Yeah.
and that's
Very well detailed.
Yeah, and that's one area, again, I felt that we could sit down with him when we got
Absolutely.
together, and because it is very detailed, and
Yep.
we just got the information with the packets.
Yeah.
I need some time to digest all of this, because he certainly has
He's
really put
extremely
together.
thorough, and he's
Absolutely.
doing a great job for us, and I just wanted to recognize that.
That's perfect. He has done a terrific job. Anything else? I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.